Hello and welcome to another video. My sojo is still gone, but my crojo is going strong. I have been crocheting pretty well non-stop. As you may have seen in my last video where I talked about everything that I made in fall, I've been very busy. 2 of these items you will have seen already, 3 of them that are finished you have not seen, and then I have 2 works in progress, so let's get into it. The first thing that I finished was the Eternal Seasons cardigan, which is a crochet pattern by Jewel Makes, I believe. I will link it below. And I talked about it briefly in my Everything I Made in Fall video, but I wanted to talk about it again. This is a pretty simple design. It has only double crochet stitches in it, but there is single crochet around the neckline. Even though it is a simple design, it is beautiful. This is the first cardigan that I've made out of crochet that I'm actually wearing. It is the second cardigan that I've made out of crochet, so I guess that's not really saying much, but I am loving it. When I first started crocheting, I did not want to make things solely out of double crochet because I thought that it looked bad, but I'm very pleased with how this looks, and I think the texture is very pretty. I will put some try-on clips here. This took me about a month to make, and I used yarn that I recycled from a sweater that I had thrifted last year. I think the only reason that I had enough to make an entire cardigan out of it was because the sweater that I harvested the yarn from was double-stranded. So I separated the strands and then crocheted this using only one strand, so I had a lot of yarn left over. These buttons I got from the thrift store. They were just in my stash, and I thought that they went nice with the yarn, and I think it adds to the appeal of the sweater. After I finished crocheting it, I washed it on gentle in my washing machine with a wool wash, and then I laid it flat to dry in my basement. That's how I block things. I know it's not the proper way to block things, but it's attainable for me, so that's what I do. And it softened up and got much nicer drape after I did that, and the neckline lays flatter. Right here, I think I messed up somehow because there's constantly a gap here. It's almost like the neckline juts out. When I did the neckline stitching, I went too far, and so this is shorter than the neckline, if that makes sense. It kind of curves in, if you can see that. So there's always kind of a hole there, but I don't mind it. I've worn this to work twice. Both times I've received lots of compliments. People can tell that I made it, which I don't know if that's a good thing, but it's probably because there's not a lot of sweaters that you can buy straight off the rack that look like this, and they know that I crochet. So I do plan to make another one, Eternal Seasons cardigan, but I want to make it more cropped. I thought that this one was going to be cropped once I had finished crocheting it. But when I blocked it, it lengthened, which I know happens for sure for knitting, but I wasn't really aware that that would happen with crochet as well. I still like it a lot. It's surprisingly warm, even though there's so many holes in it. I plan to wear this a lot. The sleeve ending is also very nice because you make it so that it's like a bishop sleeve, like a bubble sleeve. Maybe it's called a lantern sleeve, I don't know. But it's tight on my wrist, but it bubbles over that. And because the wrist is so thick, I can push that up over my elbow when I need to do gross things at work or when I need to wash my hands. And then it just kind of bubbles gracefully down my forearm, which is really pretty, I think. The next thing I finished was I had quite a lot of yarn left over after finishing that cardigan, and I wanted to use it up. And I've been wanting to make a balaclava type thing that doesn't mess up my hair but keeps me nice and warm for the Albertan winters. So I made this one. I made it using only a single crochet in the back loop only. I started by making a rectangle that I crocheted a chain that was as wide as my head this way. And then I worked a rectangle that went from the front of my forehead to the back of my head, and then I picked up on the edges and just started working around the body of the hood. Once I was done making the length of it, like once it got down to my chin, I added 5 extra stitches here, and then I worked that as well to give it a little overlap for the buttonhole, which I just made a quick buttonhole here. And then when I was done, my sister suggested adding scallops to the edges of this. And so I added scallops in this light white yarn, which is probably 2 sizes smaller than the rest of it. And it looks really delicate and cute. Every time I wear this, I also get compliments. I wear it every time I leave the house because it's freezing outside. It's really, really cute and really, really cozy. I think I want to move the button in a little because the wind does sneak in between the hood and my ears, which is cold. So I'll move the button, especially as it stretches out, because people say that crochet isn't very stretchy, but I'm finding it is. 100% recommend making your own hood, and you don't need to buy a pattern. You can just make it up. The next thing I finished was a granny square vest I made based on, I think it's called the Agnes vest. I forget who it's by, but I'll post a picture here and I'll link it below. She's making a paid tutorial for it, but she does have a free pattern for it. What drew me to this pattern was the mixture of knit and crochet, but when I made it, I ended up not doing the knit part. I just crocheted the whole thing. I basically just followed her instructions for size and then changed my hook size because I'm a bit bigger than she is. So I sized up half a hook size, made a practice square to see if that would make the vest the proper size for me. And then I followed her diagram for piecing the whole thing together. I used small bits of yarn that were gifted to me from my co-workers. I really like how it turned out. The neckline, I copied the valla vest instructions to make it a nice rounded neckline. Same with the armholes. And the hem, I did a scallop hem because I think that's really delicate and pretty. So I think that this turned out very nice, and I'll insert some try-on clips here. The only thing is, it was looking really my style until I got to the last color, where I only had this brown yarn that I had enough of to finish the entire vest. And it goes really nice with the green colors, but it does not suit my style. And I thought that I would feel comfortable in brown, but when I wear this, I do not feel like myself. So I'm giving it to my little sister, who is more comfortable wearing brown. I single crocheted all of the squares together, and so on the interior you can see the bump of the seams. I like how quickly granny squares work up, and I do like how they look. I think they're very pleasant to look at, but I don't think I'm gonna make another one in my color scheme, just because I don't think I have anything that goes with this style. Once I finished that, I wanted to use up some more of the bits of yarn that were left over for making that vest. And so I made this cute little pouch using one of those yarns, which is made using half double crochet, and it fits my camera in it when I'm not filming. It fits the camera and a battery. I measured it the whole time to make sure that everything would fit. So my desk looks a little more organized when I'm not filming because the camera's hidden in here, which I think is just adorable. I love making little pouches. I should really make more. Just store all of my things in little crochet pouches. I want to make one that can hold all of my crochet hooks, but I'm not quite sure what I want that to look like yet. I don't know if I want it to be like a Husiv style, which is like a sewing thing, the kind that you like roll up and then it looks really cute from the exterior, and then on the inside you have everything you need to sew, or if I want it to be just like a pencil case. So I need to make that decision before I move forward. I'm trying to use up all of my scrap bits of yarn as soon as I am done making a project. I am not succeeding at that, because even though I made this balaclava after I made the Eternal Seasons cardigan, there's still more yarn left over, and I don't know what to make with it. I suppose I could make some mittens, but I'm not sure that there's enough to make mittens. And then I could also make slippers, but again, I'm not sure that there's enough to make slippers. So I'm still considering what to do with the last of that yarn. I will use it eventually, just not yet. And then I still have a lot of little bits of the yarn used in that granny square vest that I still need to use, but this did at least use up some of this yarn. And it is useful, so that's nice. The next thing I made, and this only took me 4 days, I made the Valla vest by Ed's Farts, or Ed Farts. I'll put it here, and I'll also show a picture of the pattern. I really like this pattern. This is my second time working it up. I made this out of a yarn that was gifted to me by that same coworker. It is a wool blend with acrylic and nylon, I believe. And I had enough to make this entire vest, and I still have some left over, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I really like how this vest looks with nothing underneath it, but because of the wool in the yarn, it is too itchy to wear it that way. But I'm sure it'll look nice over a turtleneck or a button-up as well. I'll include try-on clips of me wearing it. When I first started this, I made the entire front, and then I noticed that my rows were wonky because I wasn't used to doing the puff stitch yet. So it was like, it went diagonally because when I first started, my tension was too loose, but as I kept going, my tension got better. I had to take the whole thing apart and then re-put it together, but it still only took me 4 days to make, even though I had to take it apart. And my heat just turned on, and I know that's going to be very loud for you, so I'll be back in a second. I forget what I was saying, but I really want to make another one of these, but make it in a way that it's not itchy so that I can wear it just bare skin in the summer. So this is going to be my winter version. It is so easy to work up, but it's really beautiful. If you look closely, but like there's so many different stitch variations throughout the pattern, and it is just beautiful. That's it for my finished objects, so let's move on to my works in progress. I have 2 works in progress right now, and we're going to start with the one that's easier to talk about first, and that's my smaller portable project. The ribbon sock pattern by Miss Coach Kina. I have a lot of this red heart and soul yarn that I got at the thrift store quite a few years ago. I think I got 8 skeins for $10. It's a super fine sock yarn that is 73% wool and 27% nylon. I feel like that is a steal for this amount of sock yarn, $10 for 8 skeins. I am using this to make my husband a pair of socks. The only thing he has asked me to make him for Christmas is a pair of socks. This is my travel project, so this is the project that I take with me to work and to other places where I'll have time to crochet. This pattern is worked entirely using single crochet in the back loop using a 3.25mm hook, which is tiny, and so this takes a really long time. I started this a couple weeks ago. I haven't worked on it recently because there hasn't been time to work on it, but I'm really enjoying how it's turning out. I think it might be ginormous, but it's hard to say until I put it all together. I might be taking this all apart, but everything is a learning experience, and I do feel like I'm learning a lot from this. This has a bit of shaping here at the toe. The pattern got a little confusing once I started the top of the foot. It said to do short rows, but it didn't tell you where to stop the short rows, so I just continued going all the way up. So this might be too wide according to the pattern, but I'm not super concerned because my husband has very wide feet. They're not super long, they're just super wide. When this stretches out, that also shortens it. So I think it might turn out to be the right size. What's nice about you doing single crochet in the back loop only is that's a very stretchy stitch, but it's better than slip stitch in the back loop only because it is a tiny bit faster. This here is the heel. The heel is shaped using increases and decreases. So even though socks and knitting, I feel like the heels are very complicated. I've never actually knit a pair of socks. This is a very simple pattern compared to how I thought that socks would actually work up. And I am enjoying the process of making it quite a lot. That's my progress on that. I need to finish this sock and make another one. So we'll move on to my last work in progress. This work in progress has been a journey. I took apart a sweater that I got at the thrift store for $10, I believe. It was a wool blend with acrylic. It's this brown yarn. Here it is in a cake. It's a really pretty color. I don't really know how to describe it. It's like a golden brown. I really like the color. I like how it looks when it works up, and it's really easy to work up, and it is a thicker needle, so I'm using 6mm hook, which feels great because then it works up real fast. This is the Foxglove wrap by Daisy and Dime. If you've watched my channel for a while, then you'll know that Daisy and Dime is the one who got me into crochet, because before that I actually hated crochet and I thought that knit was superior by far. Yes, I can be a snob. Can't we all? So this is my foxglove wrap thus far, and this is as far as my foxglove wrap is going to get. I will include some try-on clips here so that you can see it a bit more clear, but I found, and my husband agreed, that this yarn is probably too thick to make this type of top because it's supposed to be very fitted, but because it's so thick, it's rather unflattering. I do want to continue making this sweater, the foxglove wrap, but I want to make it using a thinner yarn so that it drapes better and it's more like a blouse. And I want to make it not following the pattern exactly. I want to follow Daisy and Dime's YouTube tutorial where she made a slightly different version of this top. Once I came to the conclusion that I wasn't going to finish, I started using the yarn to make something else. I am interested in Tunisian crochet because it looks like knit, and as I've previously mentioned, I can be a bit of a snob when it comes to crochet versus knit. So I wanted to make the Tunisian crochet not knit sweater by Just the Worsted, I believe. I started it when I went on my trip at the end of October, and this is as far as I got. It's actually pretty far. This looks ginormous. I feel like I didn't follow the instructions well, or maybe it's supposed to be super oversized and the other side is supposed to be the same size. When I was working on this, I was not really liking how it turns out, because even though it looks pretty well exactly like stockinette and knitting, it is not stretchy at all. Is what is appealing to me about knit, is the stretchiness of it. I'm not going to finish it. I'm going to frog this and use the yarn for a different project. I don't think Tunisian crochet is for me, which is a bit of a shame because I bought 2 Tunisian crochet hooks in different sizes, a 6mm and a 5mm. Maybe this is a case of I should use a thinner yarn as well. I started a third project using this yarn. I am making a sweater that I am making up in my head. I know I talked about this in a previous video where as I get older, it's harder for me to use my creative juices and just come up with a pattern on the fly. I am scared to try to make something without a pattern because I just want it to turn out. But with this cardigan that I'm making, I am just winging it. I am just making it up. I looked up a whole lot of crochet stitches and chose a stitch pattern that I really like. This is called the iris stitch, and I think it is just gorgeous, but it's very simple, easy to do, and it works up really fast. And even though there's a whole lot of holes in it, the holes are smaller than even the ones in my Eternal Seasons cardigan, and it's going to be really warm. I'm enjoying the process of just making this up as I go. I keep needing to take the entire thing apart and then start it over again, but I'm enjoying that part of it too. I've finished the back panel and then the front panels, including where I want it to touch in the middle. So the neckline is quite high on this one, but I want this to be fitted, but like a little boxy on my waist because I like how that looks. Now I'm just working on lengthening the body, and this is just one day's work here. So this works up really fast, faster even than the Eternal Seasons cardigan. I'm enjoying it a lot. That is everything that I wanted to talk about for this video. I hope you enjoyed a deep dive into my crochet projects. I really enjoyed making all of these, and I am going to continue crocheting for the foreseeable future. I still do not have my sojo. I hope to get that back. I'm working on 3 different projects sewing that I'm doing very minimal stuff on, a little bit every day. I'm filming videos on them. They are taking a really long time because I'm just not enjoying sewing right now. I hope you are satisfied with crochet content. And then next video, I'm gonna do a crafty thrift haul, and I hope you enjoy that as well. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!